Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to our Aries pre-full moon webinar. Now, this is really quite a week for us because the full moon is falling, very close to Easter, and there are a number of activities going on. We ourselves, Tulia and I, are presenting a number of programs. Last night was the broadcast on the Last Supper. Very beautiful, I think. It's called Maundy Thursday in the old Christian calendar. And you can, I think, pick that up from Makara if you'd like to be part of that Christ story. I found myself very engaged in it, in this ongoing sense of participation in the events, in the passion, in all of those extremely significant events which have affected Western civilization profoundly. So tomorrow night we'll be doing Good Friday. This will include the hours in Gethsemane as well, when the important decision regarding divine will was made, and Christ made that first link with the true will of God, and gave a new significance to Father, not my will, but thine be done. And we will go on to the full moon the next day. I think we start at 11 o'clock GMT. Joe has put in the chat box the links and the times. So that's the Saturday. The full moon is at 12, let's see, I should have looked at that, but something like, something like 12:36:45, GMT on Saturday the 31st. And then the next day we have a resurrection service on Sunday, and it starts at 11:40 GMT. And all of that is in the chat box, so you can access it now. Just to let you know, and you probably do know it by now, that we do provide broadcast links for all the broadcasts, but the easy way, of course, is just to use our one comprehensive link, which will admit you to all the broadcasts. I don't know if that is there right now, but Joe, if you'd be so kind as to put that in there, I would sure appreciate that. You should have it by now. You probably are using it, the one comprehensive link admitting to all broadcasts. When we do webinars, such as these pre-full moon webinars and the dissipation of glamour webinars and the science of triangles webinars, then they all have their own individual link, and we don't have any universal link. So we, have been getting that to you, and will continue to get that to you. Well, here we are. This is Easter week, and the theme of resurrection is very, very strong. Finally, the different zodiacal signs do rule different aspects of the process of initiation. And Aries is all the way from the first initiation, where we're really entering the kingdom of God, to the third initiation, where we enter into the possibility of solar initiations, not just planetary. And the fifth initiation, Aries, has a lot to do with, because we are entering the system of Syrian initiations, and we become, in Masonic terms, the entered apprentice with regard to the Lodge Sirius, and perhaps the strongest of all the, almost, is the seventh initiation taken on the logoic plane, which is the true resurrection. And it lines us up to start a great adventure when we well, it's a long time away. But when we finally take this 9th degree and for the time being refuse all contact with the cosmic physical plane and embark upon a great journey. As a matter of fact, even at the 6th initiation, we're embarking upon a great journey, one of the 7 paths, but we leave the cosmic physical plane behind and begin our work on the cosmic astral plane, and many people will go to the star Sirius and to other destinations. It's an amazing destiny lying ahead. And Aries is always initiating something new, some new penetration into a wider possibility, a wider range of contacts, a deeper, wider range of contacts. So, here we are at this time of year, and when you need to initiate something new in your life that will bring you closer to your goal, closer to your purpose, helping you fulfill your plan, this is really the time to do it. As you see here, I come forth, and from the plane of mind I rule. And basically, we're not just talking about the concrete mind there. We're talking about the higher mind, and we have to become that soul-infused being. We have to have the mind held steady in the light, and our impulses have to originate from the soul and not from our desire nature as engineered by the concrete mind and the personality. So we have to learn to identify as souls on the higher mental plane. And eventually, of course, Aries has a whole lot to do with monadic life and its basic first ray nature. Well, we're not there yet, but we're beginning to learn what the spirit is and how to begin to tread the path via the Antakarana into the realm of being, or isness, or the raw fact of being present. And that's an amazing thing, because it's something that every presentation of God shares, regardless of its quality, good or bad. It shares beingness or isness, and Aries has a lot to do with that. In the Joffrey illustration here, he's a wonderful artist, really. He very alchemical in a certain way, and but it was the Tibetan, really, who gave the alternative rulerships of the various signs or constellations. And here it's a purely Martian description. The wild Martian warrior carrying the task, and where fire is everywhere. And, there's some elements of the tarot in here as well. The magician who is initiating that which is new is found here. And, there he is in the tarot deck, and he's linking heaven and earth. And interestingly enough, Aries has a lot of the 7th ray connected with it. The 2 rays particularly that are connected are the first ray. It's the foremost of the first ray signs, bringing in, at this time at least, more will than any of the other signs. And then there is the 7th ray. And the magician up here in the corner here, he's linking heaven and earth. He's linking the high and the low. You're familiar with that card in the tarot, I'm sure. But there's more to Aries than simply the ram, the breaking of the various rings past knot. There's more to Aries. It's the birthplace of ideas under Mercury, and it has so much to do with the electric fire of spirit mediated to us through the planet Uranus. And here we do find the 3 rulers progressively, the red of Mars, the yellow of Mercury, and at least it's the violet at this point of Uranus, because Uranus is a 7th ray planet when you think about it in its soul nature. When you think about spirit, however, it is the foremost of the first ray planets monadically considered. And among the planets that we know anything about right now, the usual planets anyway, there's so many more in the solar system, only Earth and Uranus have the first ray monad as far as we know at this point. There's a lot of seventh ray in Jupiter, and it may turn into the first ray. It's hard to say, but for the moment, the relationship between Uranus and the Earth, a very powerful relationship, is along the first ray monadic line. Let's see now, Francis, as always, has given us some beautiful illustrations. This one here seems to show, the great cardinal cross and the solar angel and its embodiment projected into the dense worlds. We as the personality, we will recognize ourselves down there, but above us, these higher agencies are found. And as he describes here, a word goes forth from out the central point of the cardinal cross. Now, I guess, the cardinal cross is kind of shown here, at least illustrated. It's, you know what it is. It's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. That word takes the form of a winged cosmic sphere, the rarefied embodiment of a monad, expressing the will to incarnate. Let me just get myself going here properly. Right. So this is the highest aspect of the threefold outer form. The soul is mirroring that monadic form, that noumenal form, and it projects its own mental substance into phenomenal appearance, and thus the personality appears. Matter, and the famous Blavatsky quote is relevant here. Matter is the vehicle for the manifestation of soul on this plane of existence, and soul is the vehicle on a higher plane for the manifestation of spirit, and these three are a trinity synthesized by life. I would call it being, synthesized by life or being, which pervades them all. And Francis says also there's another way to view this this image, and he says after eons of incarnation, maybe 25 million years in the case of many human beings, after eons of incarnations, the soul-infused personality has built its antikarana and now stands free of the three worlds of human endeavor. The soul responds and prepares to draw its shadow back into itself. And so many of us are involved in that process right now through our occult meditation. The divine intermediary, which is the soul, or the solar angel at least, is no longer required. The Son of God, who is the Son of Mind, dies. The veil of the temple is rent in twain from the top to the bottom. The fourth initiation is passed, and there then comes the revelation of the Father. Through the angel of the presence, the Father is revealed. The Father is the presence, and through the angel of the presence, the Father is revealed. And the way I conceive of this angel is as much of the solar angel as can invest itself within the causal body. Not the entirety of the solar angel, I think would be too much, and it stays on the higher planes, but it pervades the lower worlds with a fragment of itself, and that fragment can be related to the angel of the presence. Some quotations from Master DK. Aries is definitely related to the Great Bear. The Great Bear has been called by Stephen Pugh. He's a ray theorist, an excellent esoteric astrologer. It's been called the Cosmic Manu. Aries is, as might be expected, closely connected with the Great Bear, but because Aries is a first-ray constellation and the Great Bear is also a first-ray constellation, but particularly with one of the stars called the Pointers, the pointer which is farthest from Polaris. These pointers point to the pole star, which is at this time a major star of direction. Sagittarius is involved with that pole star, and it is directing us towards our spirit goal. Direction, will, purpose, and plan are all connected with the solar logos and with his evolutionary undertakings in connection with the many lives manifesting in the vehicle of expression, which we call the solar system. Every planet has its lives. We're concerned with Earth planet, of course, but every planet has its type of man and all different kinds of kingdoms and so forth. All these respond to the influences of the first ray, which is the energy of divine embodied will. That's what we can use at this time of the year, esoterically described as, I love this, unavoidable directed purpose. Think about that. Unavoidable directed purpose. And for every one of us, there is that kind of goal, that kind of destiny. It is eventually unavoidable. We manage through the personality to do a lot of avoiding for a while, but eventually there is in each one of us an unavoidable directed purpose which must be fulfilled when finally we are ready and capable of doing so. A little more here on the cardinal cross. It's the Aries is one of the constellations of the cardinal cross of the heavens. This is the cross of God the Father, and therefore of the incarnating monad. Now, in fact, we spend more time on the cardinal cross than on any of the crosses. On the mutable cross, it might seem that, okay, we're spending 18, 20 million years, something like that, and on the fixed cross, much less time. On the cardinal cross, our whole future development within the solar system and beyond is lived. So wherever we venture one day as a liberated monad, we're on the cardinal cross. Even the great Sanat Kumara, who in many ways is the planetary logos of our Earth scheme, he's on the cardinal cross. I suppose our solar logos and many other beings are on the cardinal cross, but I'm sure there are higher versions of the cardinal cross once we go beyond our local cosmosphere. So the cross of the incarnating monad, it is the expression of will or power as it expresses itself through the great creative process. And well, a lot of us would be doing well to be able to anchor ourselves on the fixed cross, which is the cross of the crucified soul. It's the cross of the Christ. It's the cross of transformation, in which we will finally achieve liberation from matter at the fourth initiation, from a certain type of matter anyway. And then we will be free by the time we reach the fifth initiation to begin our mounting of the cardinal cross. Here are some of the keynotes of the sign Aries, 4 in number. So think about these in relation to your life and yourself as an incarnating soul. Express the will to be and do. The will to be, the will to do. Express the will to be and do. Unfold the power to manifest, Ray 1 and Ray 7. Number 3, enter into battle for the Lord. Well, there's Ray 1 there, and there's Mars. And who is the Lord? The Lord is the soul. So we are battling for soul values, and eventually we are battling for spirit values. Arrive at unity through effort. And it takes quite a bit of willful effort to arrange all factors so that they reflect the archetype in the state of unity. So creation, being, activity, strife, synthesis, these are the nature of the Lord of the first constellation. Notice that a constellation does indeed have a Lord. In other words, these great stars and the groupings, they are embodied by higher intelligences, higher beings, and enable him, this Lord of the first constellation, to influence our planet to these results. So, the keynotes at first, go back into form, let form again be sought, and later, as we become the initiate, I come forth, and from the plane of mind I rule. Now also, here Francis has this beautiful connection between the monad, the soul, and the personality, and the impulse that arises within the monad takes form within the soul and gradually enters the cult domain of the brain of man. From the head, occult powers are used and wielded. So there's much to be said here, and I recommend that you you go to our MoriaFederation.com, and Francis's material is there, and you can read up on that. This is the connection. Aries is the monad, but Aries is also anchoring everything in the lower worlds as well through its seventh ray. And from the highest to the lowest, we find this Aretian kind of synthesis. The first step is the province of Aries, the sign of beginnings, the birthplace of divine ideas. Okay, so, and it destroys illusion under Mercury. The jungles of illusion are set on fire and dissolve in flames, and the path stands free. And eventually, the burning ground of electric fire is experienced in Aries as well. Fire on the burning ground. There are a number of burning grounds, There's a big burning ground before mastership, and there's a big burning ground before the seventh initiation. We have to get rid of the heavier kind of materials that prevent us from going through the next door, and Uranus helps us do that. It's the hierarchical ruler of Aries, and here's what it says. It rules the occult way and is, in an esoteric sense, connected with the Hierophant of the mysteries of initiation. Now, Christ is Neptune, and at our first two initiations, it is the Christ who officiates, and we're connected with the Neptunian energy. But once Sanat Kumara steps into that role, remembering that our planet and Uranus are directly related through the first ray, we definitely have Uranus influencing the Hierophant of initiation. So the following quote sheds much light on how Uranus and Mercury are working together in Aries. Uranus embodies the energy of the seventh ray. Now, don't forget the first. It's also latent there. And the work is analogous to that of Mercury, for the seventh ray is the ray which relates spirit and matter, the highest and the lowest, and brings together electric fire and fire by friction. Fire by friction is the lowest, electric fire is the highest, thus producing manifestation. Uranus, this is important, leads the soul to the burning ground during the final stages of the path, when the fire of Aries and the fires engendered through the potency of Uranus produce the flaming heat of the final burning ground. Well, what is the final burning ground? In one way, it is the antecedent to the fourth initiation. In another way, it occurs in relation to the seventh initiation, which liberates the monad onto the logoic plane, and still later, the monad, the liberated monad, is liberated onto the cosmic astral plane. Sounds like Uranus is involved. Uranus, the liberator, is involved in all these activities. There are three lords of liberation working in Shambhala: liberty, equality, and fraternity. Well, liberty is Uranus. Equality has a lot to do with Libra, and fraternity with Gemini and its rulers. So do consult, go to the Moria Federation, our website, and Francis's material can be found there, and he's done a great job assembling this and rendering in the beautiful images something that really suggests the process to us. All right, friends. Now I think we're ready to go on. Oh, by the way, I think there's one more thing I want to show here, and that is our friend and associate, Dwayne Carpenter, should be here. Aries. Okay. Well, he has a beautiful image, and I'm going to, somehow I'm going to try to find that. Just excuse me, because it's just going to take a moment, and I usually have it right up. But in this particular case, I don't. and I probably made it disappear, you know. So, okay, so let's see here. And this is the webinar images, and this is Aries by Dwayne Carpenter. All right, there we go. Take a look at that one. It shows us some of the rulerships here. The first ray, constellation, but the seventh ray is there as well, and Mercury is bringing in the fourth ray, and you find that light at the center of manifestation and the curly horns of the ram, which suggests the law of vibration, which is necessary for all types of manifestation. So you get the impression here in Dwayne's image of this latent power, which has to expand into the entire demonstration of purpose through the universe or through any particular system. So do go to Dwayne's website. I don't have it handy. I think it's Lightweaver, you know, and see the beautiful images that he has created on very, very occult subjects. And Joe, if you have Dwayne's website for any reason, please put it in the chat box. That would be very helpful. All right, you know, I always talk too much in the beginning, but here goes. So here is our meditation, and we're, you know, in this Easter week, and we want to have this sign of beginnings powerful in our nature now, and to work in such a way that we can really take advantage of the Aries energy, rounding out the cycle that has passed, learning from it, and going forth with new purpose, new resolve, new will, intent upon manifesting that which must be in terms of purpose. Okay, friends, so now we work. And we're about a day before the actual full moon, more than 24 hours before it now. And as I showed you before, it's going to be at 12 something on the 31st. It's going to be on 36 and 45 seconds GMT on Saturday the 31st. So just adjust your time accordingly. 12:36:45. And, you know, try to honor the moment of the full moon to you. We'll be broadcasting the full moon meditation service. And even if it's an inconvenient hour, just do your best to be awake at the time of the full moon and get it down into the brain, you know. Even if it's 2 or 3 in the morning, just do your best. Okay, so we are, in one respect, the soul in incarnation. We are consciousness immersed in various fields, and the field of the personality is what is most impactful for most of us at this time. So we're immersed in the etheric physical, the astral, the mental fields, the entire personality field. Our consciousness is engaged with those fields, unless, of course, we withdraw, which now we can begin to do. Try to recognize ourselves as the soul in incarnation. Try to recognize this. We are sensitivity, touchingness. And we pull back, you know. We kind of let the etheric physical fade out. We let the realm of desires and reactions fade out. That's the astral world. We let the lower mind, with all its many thoughts and words and images and all that, fade out. And something else fades in, and that's the world of the higher mind. And we're going to imaginatively at least enter deeply into the presence of the soul. It's as if our consciousness becomes aware of light. The entire universe is condensed light, and the love which we can be and are, just as the Christ is and knows he is, one day, and the power. So omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotence, these, with respect to our solar system and beyond, eventually will be ours. And it's as if we're within the realm of the soul, where we feel and confront the light that is in all things, the love which holds us all together. Profound when you think about the love of the Christ. It's almost unbearable, you know. And the sacrificial will, all of these evidences of higher consciousness. So we try to think about the group soul, you know. We're here, we're gathered together imaginatively in soul. And that group soul, of course, extends to all the men and women of goodwill here and there throughout the world. And the members of the new group of world servers, brighter lights, you know. We're in group soul with them, and finally even every member, really, of the human race, no matter what kind of personality they're working through, good, bad, or indifferent, you know, still they are members of the one soul of humanity, whether in the body or out of the body. No matter who you meet, known or unknown to you personally, all members of the one soul of humanity, about which we can say the ancient secondary mantra, naught is but me. And that goes farther than humanity. It includes all the kingdoms and all the beings, really. All the beings in universe. Naught is but me. If we could really make that real to ourselves, what a revolution in consciousness it would be. Now our goal, is to project into the higher worlds so that as a group we can receive inspiration of mind, of love, of will from the triadal worlds via our gradually improving Antakarana, and eventually from the world of pure being, which is the monad itself. The Buddhic plane can affect the astral plane and organize it so that the intuition of the Buddhic plane is reflected in the astral plane. The energies can be gathered up into a point around the mental unit through which we will project. It's all of our resources in our lower personality, mental, emotional, and vital, etheric, physical. And from the petals of the egoic lotus, we would be drawing into that point on the mental plane the light of the soul. You can imagine it. The love of the soul from the love petals of the egoic lotus. And the will, sacrificial will of the soul, all entering that pool of retained energies on the fourth plane of the mental plane. And even from the jewel in the lotus, which is the reflection of the monadic energy, that very high synthetic will drawn in to the retained energy pool. And upon that pool of retained energies, the intuition can play and the reformed astral nature can play. And we will imagine a bridge of light gradually connecting with the triad. We imagine it may connect, but it's not completely connected yet. But it's a sevenfold bridge of multicolored light. All the seven colors of the seven rays are there. And we can imagine it touching the mental permanent atom. And we can at least imagine entry into the Buddhic level and moving towards the Buddhic permanent atom and moving towards the Atmic permanent atom. This bridge of light, you can even imagine it entering the realm of the threefold monad, the realm of being, we're not Chohans of the 7th or 6th degree, but we can imagine. You can feel it in the group. And two rays will be most prominent. The color of your soul ray and your personality ray will be most prominent in the bridge. But we're just going to use, in the group sense, we'll use the indigo ray, which will synthesize all the rays. So just imagine bridge very much colored by the indigo ray as it touches, at least imaginatively, the higher aspects of our nature. And along that indigo line of light, we will project a radiant shaft of white light using the second ray word of power. I see the greatest light, and we just imagine it going all the way into the monad. We can, think of the blue-white diamond of the monad, the jewel in the crown of the planetary logos. And we're going to imagine that shaft of light, rapier-like. We're going to say inwardly to ourselves, I see the greatest light. We'll say it 3 times. I see the greatest light, and try to think of ourselves contacting that unfettered enlightenment of Shambhala. And we'll sound a second ray note outwardly. And while we inwardly say, I see the greatest light. It's as if, the as-if method, it's as if we can receive something of that blazing, unfettered enlightenment which characterizes the monad, and something of the spiritual will and the pure reason and the abstract mind all working their way down, answering our invocation. See greatest light. Now in the world of the spiritual triad, the masters focus their consciousness all the time. We don't do that. We're fortunate if we can touch something via our gradually building antikarana, something of those higher perceptions that are impersonal, have nothing to do even with the world of the soul. They are really impersonal. They have to do with the planetary logos and beyond. We will be thinking and perceiving in a planetary sense. Coming from one of the 7 great circles on the cosmic physical plane, on the monadic plane, something from the heart of the planetary logos may touch us. But our job is to cooperate with our elder brothers and sisters on the triadal levels, where they focus all the time. And so it's not so much devotion, it's solidarity with their ashramic purposes that we express when we salute the masters. We begin with the Christ, the Lord Maitreya, the head of the hierarchy. Salutations to the Christ, the master of all masters, the teacher alike of angels and of men. And we remember, wherever two or more are gathered in my name, there am I. It is the resurrection of the Christ that we are celebrating this week. And of course, it's actually the higher resurrection as he begins his work in the seventh initiation, even back in those days. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we most closely work, Master M, Master KH, Master PK. Each of them offering an indispensable energy and quality to all our efforts. Salutations to the Master Moria, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kuhumi, now the head of the second Ray Ashram and the future Christ of the age of Capricorn. We cooperate with him. It is his ashram which is most responsible now in relation to the process we call the reappearance of the Christ. Salutations to the Master Jawal Kul, who has given us the blue books. He is the messenger of the masters and the great teacher. And the one with whom we are probably most directly related before we definitely enter the ashram of we can call home. And the training of aspirants for discipleship and disciples for initiation, yes, that is one of his major activities. Salutations to your own master as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet. And now we carry, in imagination at least, our thought towards whatever it means to us when we consider the center where the will of God is known. As a group, we approach with deepest reverence and humility. We approach as a group consciousness, a group soul, and we attempt to attune somehow to the presence of Sanat Kumara standing at the very center of Shambhala. This will give us the sense of the divine purpose. We cannot know much about it, but some little drop of realization of the divine purpose and the plan through which it works. And so inwardly and silently and in attunement with the great Lord, we sound the Om inwardly, silently, as a group, attuning. And as we live our life individually and in our groups, as we build the Antikarana, as we think of the impersonal world of the triad and the world of being of the monad, we have some opening to the impression from the great king so that our lives can be guided by that purpose and its plan. And we will not be led astray by all these lesser things which compete for our attention. The purpose, recognition, and work with the plan is one of the high possibilities in relation to Aries. And so may all of our thoughts and our activities be aligned with as much of the plan and purpose as we can bring into our group aura. We're not walking into Shambhala. Not until the sixth initiation is this a possibility, and maybe for some first ray masters a little before, but it's a long way off. But purpose, divine purpose in this world of swirling glamour and illusion which confuses us, and Maya which renders our activities chaotic and ineffective. Purpose in all this. Purpose. And through these days and toward the full moon and after, we hold that sense of purpose coming from on high, from our own monad, which is a member of Shambhala. Now we will begin our ascent in yet another way, looking at the golden path which leads into the indigo sun. And there we imagine that the consciousness of Master DK will begin to infuse our consciousness, and we can become, in some small measure, outposts of his consciousness. So here we are at the point, all of us, wherever we are, scattered apparently in time and space, we imagine ourselves drawn together at a vibrant, vital, radiant point of our light and our love and our power. We form that point above the golden pathway, which leads into the indigo sun. And the pathway shortens and shortens, and we ride with it and shortens and shortens until we find the pathway absorbed into the indigo sun, the pathway absorbed into the indigo sun. And there we are within the golden disk and within the deep blue of the second day. And there we as if meet with the consciousness of Master DK and begin our ascent towards these energies which really are available now, if we could but fathom their presence. Planetary, stellar, constellational energies, all available now. We will be moving towards Mars, the exoteric ruler of Aries, conveying the strength, fortitude, the will to fight for a high ideal. We will be facing Mercury, the esoteric ruler, conveying the power to apprehend the archetypal idea and destroy illusion through a fiery higher mental process. We will be confronting the electric fire of Uranus, the hierarchical ruler, the pure will towards ultimate vivification of the entire human energy system, linking us to the world of being, and finally to the archetypal world itself on the logoic plane. All of these planets and their radiation are powerful now. Mars, Mercury, Uranus. So first, Mars, the planet of all warriors, giving us the spiritual courage. We need it. The undying, fiery aspiration for fusion with divinity and for successful manifestation of the divine ideal embodied in the divine plan. It's as if we can appropriate Mars now. Breathe its fiery red into our energy system. But a higher Mars it must be, and so we open ourselves to impression, born upon that Martian stream of energy, and we want to bring it into our individual life and into our groups to really use Mars. You know, DK once said, not only do I wish you were younger, he said to his disciples, but I wish you were more courageous. Well, we can take care of the second of Master DK's wishes. More courageous. So we'll imagine coming into our group and into our groups that ray of Mars, sixth ray and some first ray, will sound the Om, watching it enter, and we appropriate that energy for ourselves and for the group. We'll sound on the red note, which is a C. We feel that red of Mars. It's a tough energy to handle, but very necessary. It imbues our aura, but not with friction, not with waste of energy, but with consecration to a high ideal and the courage to carry it out. Now we'll move esoterically towards Mercury, which ultimately is the planet of transcendent mind. On the Buddhic plane, even nirvanic mind on the atmic plane. And it stimulates our intuition, our realization of what are the imminent developments in the divine plan. What part must precipitate now? Burning up the jungle of illusion, receiving pure reason, receiving from the birthplace of ideas, the ideas whose time has come. Mercury. As disciples, we should be using some of this Mercury in relation to Aries. So pure reason, intuition, transcendental mind, these begin to impress us individually and as a group. We're open to the great ideas which are part of the divine plan and purpose. It's a yellow energy, just as the Buddhic plane is yellow from a certain perspective. It's available so that we can see the things that must be as part of the plan and do not become bewildered. So let's let Mercury into our group life, into our individual life, so that we may be enriched by the high ideas and work in the intuitive realm. Our mind is fertilized by the great ideas. Ideas are beings, incorporeal, and they give shape and form to formless substance. We want to be impressed by the ideas whose time has come for the world, humanity, and for ourselves as workers with the plan. So may the brain cells be stimulated in such a way that these ideas can be received. Finally, we'll move on to the Great Father planet, Uranus, the home of electric fire, which will give us inspiration for the next total transformation and renewal of everything. Our individual personality, our group personality, renewal under the archetype. And so we can face whatever burning ground it is before us with the higher design in mind and pass through it and go through the door into wider life. We will through Uranus in Aries, different in every sign, of course, overcome the illusion of time and space. It is the planet of simultaneity. It's the planet of omnipresence. Uranus. We'll attune there, and we'll use a violet color in our imagination for its seventh ray soul, but remember, behind it is that amazing first ray of purpose. And so we'll use the note B, a violet note, and imagine flowing into our group and our groups and our individual life, that violet impression of the archetype that is descending from the world of being. We absorb the violet. And we are ready for a renewal at this time of ourselves in line with a higher purpose. We go on now, thinking of the great Solar Logos, the great being of love, the great heart center in a cosmic logos. And so we are all units of love. When you look at the sun, you're looking at the vehicle of the Solar Logos, distributing its second ray soul, its second ray personality, love, wisdom throughout. Indigo, God is love. Always, solar energies are powerful at this time. We remember ourselves. We may have many rays and all kinds of parts, but our monad has its home within the sun at this time. And our God is a consuming fire, the consuming fire of love. So we think of that God of love, wisdom, conditioning everything on our planet and in our solar system. Love, wisdom pouring throughout. and organizing under its synthetic nature all the different rays and the interactions and relationships, love wisdom throughout the solar system. To be a being of love, regardless of what your rays may be, that is the monadic purpose in our present solar system, a system of love wisdom. And all the different rays are sub-rays in our system under that great love wisdom synthesizing energy. And moving into space, moving away from our solar system altogether, and even away from the 7 suns in which our system is a part, we move towards the constellation Aries and its light, the light of life itself, as we saw in Dwayne's illustration, dim point of light found at the center of the cycle of manifestation, faint and flickering. It is the searchlight of the Logos, seeking that which can be used for divine expression, and I presume getting ever stronger, as we saw in the illustration. Starting all things going, the light of life itself. And as we think about this constellation Aries, we open to the feel of it, you know. The first ray coming through it, the 7th ray coming through it, and of course, the rays of its rulers, 6th ray Mars, 4th ray Mercury, 7th ray Uranus. All these available to us now if we learned how to appropriate the energies and apply them to the divine plan. We have to become wielder of these energies, you know, applying them intelligently, and one day we will be the true adept who can adopt and adapt these energies to immediate necessities. So there, we're tuning with that constellation and with its sign in the aura of Earth, a concentrated influence of those energies from the constellation. And we think now together in silence. I come forth, and from the plane of mind I rule. Now you know, who's that I? Ultimately it is the monad who descends onto the higher mental plane, the plane of mind, and through the soul nature rules the personality in the lower world. So let's have some silence as you think about how this may apply to your life or to your group life. I come forth, and from the plane of mind I rule. I come forth from deeper subjectivity into greater objectivity, and from the plane of mind, especially the higher mind, I rule. You are the inner ruler, and you will rule the mental plane, the astral plane, the etheric physical plane, and become, through this growing rulership, the master one day. No longer the victim. The errant forces have been captured, corralled, put in their proper place. And you, the spirit soul, are indeed the ruler. I come forth, and from the plane of mind, I rule. And from this position, you can put down all rebellions in the lower nature and impose divine purpose upon the personality. And so a new power will be yours, will grow. The time of the full moon is coming, and we're growing this power of inner spirit, soul, imposition upon the elemental forces of ourselves and of the world. I come forth. And from the plane of mind, I rule. The zodiac, they are the 12 petals in the heart and the head center of the great supercosmic logos, the one about whom naught may be said. And through the cosmic Manu, the 7 major stars of the Great Bear, the Aries energy passes, and into our local cosmic logos, where our sun is a heart center. This Aries energy passes, and into our solar system, and into the planets Mars and Mercury and Uranus. This energy from the heart and the head of the great logos passes into our planet, affecting ourselves as monads, affecting ourselves as souls, even entering our personalities with the head center, that ruling first ray center, and eventually to the base of the spine and back to the head center. I come forth, and from the plane of mind I rule. Real energy is now available to be used by us regardless of what our astrological signs may be or our rays. All can be used. The earth has many trouble areas where a new is needed, a new start, a fresh start, according to a divine archetype, a better way. Just imagine for a moment, select a trouble spot in the world and apply this renovating energy of Aries, which restores the divine plan, forces of restoration. Imagine that Aries energy flowing in somewhere and changing the arrangement, changing the arrangement so it reflects the divine archetype. Maybe create a little mantra that you repeat as you watch the change take place. We'll use a red note 3 times the Om as you watch this energy of Aries with its first ray and 7th ray and its Mars and its Mercury and its Uranus doing its work to change the pattern of the place you have selected. We built a channel to higher energies together. Let's maintain it over these days as the full moon approaches on Saturday the 31st at 12:36 and 45 seconds GMT. Wherever you may be, hopefully you'll join us. It's at 11 o'clock GMT we start, and Tuya will lead the service meditation till we reach the moment of the full moon. That amazing opportunity, as DK tells us, which must not be missed. So we will close our meditation by sounding together the great invocation, watching the light, love, and power flow in to humanity and to the planet. Use your visualization, the light, love, and power flowing into our planet and into the lives of us all. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Dear friends, hold the alignment, intensify it, hold the point of tension, intensify it. Join us if you can tomorrow night for the Good Friday service meditation, which Tuya will lead. It's in your chat box. It's in the evening, I think at 7 o'clock. I think so, but I have to check. Okay. And yeah, it's a Good Friday service, 7 p.m. GMT. That's actually today, isn't it? Friday. Then the full moon the next day, starting at 11. You'll have the broadcast link for that. Broadcast link will work for both of those. And then the Resurrection Day service on Sunday, starting at 11:40 GMT. So thank you very much for attending. It's a powerful time. Let's use that first ray wisely. and help to bring the plan into expression in our own individual sphere, however small that sphere may be, and into humanity and into our planet. We'll stay consecrated, attuned, responsive to the higher impersonal energies which may descend, and maybe some further vision of the divine plan will recognition and work with the divine plan. Maybe that will come in for us, and our way ahead will be clearer. Okay, lots of love to everybody, many blessings, and we'll be seeing you over the next few days, hopefully, as we continue our process into the story of the Christ and Jesus as they anchored the divine will for us in the beginning of the great new dispensation. All the best, and this will be available shortly, before long, on Makara, this video. Thank you, and good night, good day, good evening, whatever it is for you. We'll see you now. Bye-bye.